Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Update, your go-to source for the latest news, expert insights, and real-time developments on Iraq's currency, economy, and financial reforms. Whether you're a long-time investor or just curious about the dinar, you're in the right place. In the years that followed the Vietnam War, the Vietnamese dong became one of the most devalued currencies in the world. Before its devaluation, the dong held a significantly higher value in comparison to the US dollar. Though it's difficult to pinpoint an exact figure due to the shifting nature of exchange rates during wartime and post-war instability, many economic historians and currency experts have referenced that, prior to the sweeping changes brought on by war, sanctions, and economic collapse, the value of the Vietnamese dong could be considered equivalent to or even greater than $2 per dong. This is a striking contrast to what we see today, where the dong is traded in the tens of thousands per US dollar. Markz, a well-known commentator in currency revaluation circles, has frequently brought up historical values of currencies like the Vietnamese dong and the Iraqi dinar. In a recent conversation, he mentioned that if he recalls correctly, the Vietnamese dong was once worth approximately $2.21 per unit. While the precision of that number can be debated by academic economists, it reflects a broader truth, that the dong was once a strong and valuable currency before being subjected to the forces of hyperinflation, international isolation, and sweeping economic restructuring. To understand how the dong lost its value, we need to consider Vietnam's economic and political history. Before the fall of Saigon in 1975, South Vietnam operated under a capitalist system that had financial and military support from the United States. During that time, the South Vietnamese piastre and later the South Vietnamese dong held considerably more value in international exchange markets than the post-war unified currency. When North Vietnam emerged victorious, the nation was unified under a single communist government, which initiated a command economy heavily influenced by the Soviet model. This period saw drastic changes in currency policy. What exacerbated the dong's devaluation further was Vietnam's limited access to global financial systems. The U.S. embargo on Vietnam, which remained in effect until 1994, played a significant role in isolating Vietnam from dollar-based transactions. With limited access to foreign direct investment and trade opportunities, Vietnam's economic environment remained weak for years, which in turn affected the dong's standing. Throughout the 1980s, Vietnam's government attempted to stabilize the economy through rationing and price controls, but those measures proved insufficient. The inflation rate in the late 1980s reached triple digits, pushing the dong further into devaluation. By the early 1990s, $1 was worth several thousand Vietnamese dong. This was a staggering fall from its earlier values, and it meant that ordinary Vietnamese citizens saw the purchasing power of their money erode. For example, if someone had saved in dong during the pre-devaluation period and held on to that money through the following decades, their savings would have been practically worthless by the end of the inflationary spiral. This erosion of value prompted distrust in the national currency and led to widespread use of gold and US dollars in daily transactions, especially in large purchases like real estate or vehicles. Mark's remark about the dong being worth around $2.21 prior to devaluation should be viewed in the historical and geopolitical context of the time. It reflects not just a numerical value but a broader narrative of Vietnam's dramatic shift from a wartime economy through centralized planning and into the reforms of the IME period. IME, introduced in 1986, marked a turning point for the Vietnamese economy as the government slowly transitioned from a centrally planned system to a socialist-oriented market economy. This allowed for some stabilization of the currency, though the value of the dong has never returned to pre-1975 levels. In the years since, Vietnam has become one of the fastest-growing economies in Southeast Asia. Its manufacturing sector is booming, its trade relations have diversified, and it now participates in major economic partnerships like the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership (RCEP). Still, the Vietnamese dong remains a non-convertible currency. It is not freely traded on global forex markets, and its value is managed closely by the State Bank of Vietnam. As a result, its nominal exchange rate remains low, often hovering around 23,000 to 25,000 dong per US dollar. This disparity between the historical value and the modern exchange rate is why the dong attracts so much attention from speculative investors. Many believe that the current valuation does not reflect Vietnam's real economic potential, and that if the country further modernizes its banking systems and opens up its capital accounts, the dong might be revalued to better represent its true purchasing power. Those who follow Markz and similar voices often view this potential revaluation as a future windfall, assuming the dong could be restored closer to a historical rate or at least significantly appreciate. However, the road to such a revaluation is not straightforward. Vietnam would need to undergo serious financial reforms, including liberalizing its exchange rate policy, removing capital controls, and improving transparency in its banking sector. It would also need to build strong enough foreign reserves to support a stronger currency without risking inflation or destabilizing exports. While it has made great progress, Vietnam is still managing the delicate balance between keeping its exports competitive and ensuring domestic stability. The figure of $2.21 as a historical value is therefore symbolic. It signifies a time when the Vietnamese economy was aligned with Western systems, prior to the upheaval of war and communism. It also highlights how much damage inflation, isolation, and economic mismanagement can do to a national currency. Whether the dong can return to a similar value is a matter of intense speculation. From an economic fundamentals perspective, such a jump would require a radical transformation in Vietnam's monetary framework and global financial status. In summary, Mark's recollection that the dong was once worth around $2.21 is more than a number. It is a reference point for those who believe in the potential for currency reform in Vietnam. It connects the past with the hope for a future where the dong reflects the strength of a modern, open, and globally integrated Vietnamese economy. While skeptics argue that such a valuation is unrealistic in the short term, optimists point to Vietnam's upward trajectory and suggest that major financial restructuring, including the revaluation of the dong, is not only possible but inevitable if current trends continue. The history of the Vietnamese dong, from strength to collapse to cautious recovery, offers a compelling case study of how currencies can rise and fall based on the fate of the nations that issue them. Thanks for tuning in to Iraqi Dinar Update. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat on Iraq's evolving financial landscape. Stay informed and stay ready.